You ever walk up to your own place thinking you're about to have a peaceful weekend in the mountains, only to find a piece of paper taped to your door next to a brand new lock you definitely didn't put there? Yeah, that was me. Not too long ago, I swear some people collect stamps, others collect coins, and apparently there are a few who collect entire properties by sheer force of nonsense. Let me back up. I inherited my grandfather's cabin, just a small, sturdy little house tucked into the woods, built way back in the 50s. Not a mansion, just home. And my grandfather. The guy was an absolute legend when it came to paperwork. You'd think the guy was hiding the Ark of the Covenant in his fireproof safe. The man kept everything: deeds, permits, tax slips, even a receipt for the nails in the porch. Turns out that kind of record keeping is genetic because now I've got my own property binder. It's a thing of beauty, I'm telling you. Every permit, every invoice, my entire life at that cabin is tabbed, labeled, and triple hole punched. Anyway, the cabin sits about 40 acres out on the kind of road that'll loosen your fillings. You go there to escape the world, not get ambushed by it. So late October, I roll up planning to winterize beat the first snow. And there it is, some weird gothic font notice on my door talking about fee schedules and allodial title and living souls, and at the bottom, what looks like a thumbprint in red ink next to a name: Reginald Living Soul, not a corporate fiction. I mean, come on. You ever just stand somewhere and think this can't possibly be happening? That was me frozen in my own driveway. But before I can even process, I hear crunching leaves behind me. Here comes this dude, tactical vest and all, waving a GoPro like he's about to film the moon landing. He points the camera right at me and, in his most official cop for hire voice, tells me I'm trespassing on the allodial title of the living soul, Reginald. And, oh, it gets better, I'm now subject to his fee schedule for interacting with his person. $500 an hour just to stand there. The man hands me a manila envelope heavy enough to double as a doorstop, 15 pages of red wax seals, gold stickers, legal gibberish, you name it. My favorite part: looking at him, $50. Speaking 200 a word. Stepping on his property, 5 grand a footstep. I think I owed him, 50 grand, just for picking up the envelope. I told him as politely as I could muster that the authorities would be reviewing his maritime claim. He looked like he'd just won a gold medal in nonsense. Drove to the sheriff's office, paperwork in tow, trying not to lose my mind. Turns out the Sheriff Martinez good guy already knew Reginald. Yeah, we've had 3 calls about this guy this month, he says. Apparently, Reginald's been making the rounds reclaiming properties he thinks are abandoned by their corporate fictions. The problem: until someone actually breaks the law, there's not much the sheriff can do. Well, lucky for us, Reginald isn't exactly shy about his methods. He changed my lock, moved my furniture onto the porch, filmed the whole thing for the internet. Honestly, I should have charged him a production fee. His own paperwork was a confession declaring my land abandoned, admitting he'd taken possession, laying out a whole schedule of fees. The sheriff just grinned, made copies, and started rolling the legal boulder downhill. What happened next? Oh, you'd have loved it. While I'm filing for an injunction and criminal trespass at the courthouse, Reginald's still at my cabin playing sovereign minister of the woods. Then, because karma really does have a sense of humor, he posts everything online. Him breaking my lock, moving my stuff, making wild speeches about liberating corporate property. Sheriff Martinez calls, "Your boy just made our jobs a lot easier." Turns out posting evidence of your own crimes isn't just dumb, it's a gift to prosecutors everywhere. We drove up together, me and the truck sheriff, in front, both of us expecting some last-minute theatrics. Sure enough, Reginald's on the porch, mid-rant, camera rolling. The moment he sees Martinez, he starts in, "I do not consent to any interaction with corporate enforcers," and so on. The sheriff, not missing a beat, lays it all out. Reginald, Here's the deed from 1954. Here's 3 years of tax records. Here's your GoPro footage. Congratulations. You've just confessed to burglary. Reginald, still in character, tries to hand over a fine $1 million in silver bullion, payable to himself, of course. Sheriff laughs, slaps on the cuffs, recites his rights. You probably should have started exercising your right to remain silent a week ago. The whole thing was caught on Reginald's own camera. That's what I call poetic justice. You think it ends there? Not even close. In court, Reginald's public defender tries to make a case about sincere beliefs and alternative legal frameworks. The prosecutor just slides his homemade documents across the table, points out the obvious if Reginald really believed he owned my property. Why charge people fees for interacting with his person? The judge, who I'm pretty sure had seen every trick in the book, cuts him off. Mr. Reginald, you can't claim to be outside the law and then invent your own legal documents when you want to steal someone's property. That's not how any of this works. The schedule of fees, criminal intent, the abandonment claim, blown apart by my tax records. End result: guilty burglary, theft, trespass, destruction of property. Restitution hearing. Oh, that was the cherry on top. Reginald was ordered to pay for everything new: locks, cleaning, repairs, even the court costs. When he tried to pay in gold credits and sovereign certificates printed on his home computer, the judge just deadpanned US only. Please, I almost felt sorry for the guy. Almost. He got 6 months in county, $8,000 in fines, and I hope a lifetime ban from stationery stores. But Reginald, well, he wasn't done. A month after getting out, I start getting more of his homemade paperwork in the mail. Bills for energy storage, threats of liens, invoices for use of his land. My lawyer couldn't believe his luck. Each new letter was another violation of parole. When Reginald showed up to his parole hearing, waving his private attorney general documents, the judge just shook his head. Back to jail. Try not to invent any more laws while you're in there. This time he got a year plus a permanent restraining order. My lawyer helped me file a civil suit too. Harassment, emotional distress, lost time. Reginald tried to represent himself, claiming diplomatic immunity from his jail cell. Didn't work. I won $35,000, at least on paper. You'd think the story would slow down, but nope. One night, a few months later, I hear someone creeping around outside. I check my cameras. Yeah, I learned my lesson. See some guy lurking near the cabin. Not Reginald. Someone new, armed with a briefcase full of fake documents and a van labeled the Mobile Ministry. Sheriff Martinez, now on speed dial, arrests him for trespassing before the guy can even set up his tripod. Apparently, Reginald had been telling his online followers my cabin was prime for reclamation. My case became a warning in those circles. Don't mess with the guy in the woods. He's got the real paperwork. It's funny, all those years I used to roll my eyes at my grandfather's obsessive record keeping. All those receipts and permits turned out, it's what saved my skin. Reginald and his band of sovereign citizens, they target people they think won't fight back. Elderly folks, folks with spotty documentation, people who might just give up rather than face the headache. But when they run up against someone with a property binder thicker than a Bible, and the patience to let the system work, whole house of cards comes tumbling down. I still keep every bit of Reginald's nonsense, his fee schedules, the wax seals, even the thumbprints in the same binder as the court orders that put him in jail. Sometimes when the fire's going and the woods are quiet, I'll pull out one of his fake invoices and just laugh. There's a lesson there, All that talk about maritime law and corporate fictions, none of it matters when you've got the receipts. Literally. These days, the cabin's quieter than ever. Motion sensors, new cameras, a gate at the driveway with a sign. This land is governed by the laws of the land, not the sea. If that doesn't scare off the next would-be sovereign citizen, well, I've got a lawyer who will. Sometimes I get a weird letter in the mail. Some new follower trying their luck. I just add it to the evidence file. The restraining order's still in effect. Reginald moved counties, and I hear he's bothering someone else. Now, hopefully, someone ready to shut him down fast. The system actually worked. Real documentation. Beat fake documentation. Law enforcement handled the actual criminals, and the courts did what they were supposed to do. I only wish my grandfather was around to see it. He'd get a real kick out of watching some amateur try to out-paperwork him. I think he'd especially enjoy that it was Reginald's own documents, his own obsession with paperwork, that took him down. Now, I sit on the porch, coffee in hand, sunrise on my land, documented, defended, and fully mine. Every once in a while, some envelope from the Republic of Nowhere lands in my mailbox, and I just forward it to my lawyer. The filing cabinets are ready, the cameras are rolling, and honestly, I just enjoy the peace. Having bulletproof legal documentation is almost as relaxing as having a fireproof safe full of 70-year-old receipts. My grandfather would definitely approve. But let me ask you this. Do you think justice is always this clear-cut? Or was I just lucky? My paperwork was better than his fiction. Have you ever had to fight for something that should have been yours? By right? Not by who shouts the loudest. Let me know, seriously. I want to hear your story. Because out here, sometimes the law is only as strong as the person who's willing to stand behind it.